Welcome to what we're hoping, after a relatively successful Twitter poll, will for future be called the Fools Rush In Vidicast. We couldn't decide whether we were a podcast, a vlog, or what, but Fools Rush In was the popular name. Well, it was the joint popular name, but the other one had already been taken, so this is the one we got left with, and we can't find anyone else who's using it. So Fools Rush In is the name, Swindon Town is the game, and tonight we are previewing the League Two season because we're starting to get some players. The friendlies are over, and well, there's not long to go. I am joined by the collection of guys who like to turn up and talk all things Swindon Town. So we'll say hello one at a time. So Ned's with us. Hello, Ned.
Hello. Hi.
Warren's joining us.
Evening, gents.
Craig is here for a look back at history. He's just waving. I mean, for anyone who is only listening to this, Craig is waving. Doesn't want to you. Always doing so smoothly. It's gone wrong already. Ben's here. Hello, Ben.
All right, Steve.
Tactical analysis as always from Adam. How are you, pal?
Not too bad. Tactically analysing everybody.
And the aptly named AK's biggest fan is making up the numbers as well. Good evening.
Good evening, Stephen.
So good. It's not long till the season starts. We're starting to see some players through the door. How are we all feeling?
More optimistic than we did a couple of weeks ago.
That's definitely, for sure, definitely. And obviously, as the friendlies have gone by, the name trialist has slowly seeped away as actual names have started coming in. Is there anyone who's catching people's eyes early doors?
Grant.
We briefly discussed it on the last show, but Craig, I'll ask you first as you raised it. Where are you? Is he going to sign? Nothing official yet still?
I don't think it's going to happen. I want it to, but it just seems to be dragging on too long. Surely you should know by now if he's good enough or fitting into Ben Garner's plans, but I'm just getting a horrible feeling that he's not gonna be on the squad on Saturday. If he is, it'll be great because it'll be a proper spine to the team with Payne and Odemeo at the back now and everything. We've got little core there, and the team doesn't look too disjointed from last season. There is still a core there from last season. All right, last season a lot of them didn't play too well, but Jack Payne and Odemeo were two of the better players, and with Grant there, if we had those three starting on Saturday, that would be, I think that would be quite solid for us. But yeah, I've got a horrible feeling that Grant's going to be he's not going to be signed, unfortunately.
Does anyone else agree with Craig, or is anyone more confident that he is going to sign on?
I think he. Sorry, Ben. Yeah, I think he might. I think the problem is the wages. I think I did overread somewhere that we're capped pretty much, if you average it out, capped at only 1,600 or something per week, and I would guarantee he was on more than that. I'd probably say he was pushing closer to the 3K scales. So, and it's not. And I don't blame him, because at the end of the day, you live to your means, don't you? You live to your current salary. And if he's been on 2 to 3K for the last arguably 4 or 5 years, to ask him to half that is quite a commitment. So I'm hoping he does. Obviously, we all want him here. He knows he's wanted here. But I think we've just got to play the waiting game. I think he'll be a Friday announcement if he is going to happen.
Ben, you wanted to come in on that one as well?
Yeah, I think the fact that he's still here and he's still training, and I think he was on the Villa Kids Instagram today hiding his shoes. I think the fact that he's still here means that there's still very much a deal on the cards. I think he wants to come back. I think he's played all pre-season, so Swindon want him in the squad because he's actually match ready, and we haven't got that many that are. I think the wages is possibly the reason why he's not already been announced. And I think they're just trying to sort something out. They sort something out with Gladwin. and I can't see Gladwin being on any less than Grant is. So I think we might have to do something and then just stick a load of bonuses on for appearances or something like that. Or we're going to have to wait until the embargo gets lifted. But I think Anthony Grant is quite settled and happy here. And if it's going to be done within the next month, it doesn't even have to be done next month because he's not attached, then I think he'll wait and then just come join us because I think he's settled and happy here. So I do think it will happen. I just don't know when it will happen. Hopefully before the weekend, but I can't see him going anywhere else now.
I do wonder though, Ben, if he doesn't sign this week, whether Pep Garner, as I call him now, will actually we'll cut him off at the end of the week because you don't want to be training your player for another team. So I do wonder if he's not signed by Friday. He's had a month with us. I do wonder whether we'll just cut him off and say, well, if you're not going to sign, then that's it.
Don't know if there's a bit of a cover up. Oh, sorry, Ben, go on.
Sorry, just saying you might well be right. But that's just my inkling, my feeling that I think if he was going to be moved on, I think that conversation would have happened already. And I think he's coming on to training. He's coming on the pitch in his own 42 shirt. So, he's not just coming in on a sort of usual generic football shirt. He's got his own. I think it's going to happen. But anyway, sorry, Warren, you can't come.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, reading some of Garner's interviews, it was all talk about his fitness being improved. That's what a lot of what Garner was saying. I don't know if it's a cover up to do with the money side of it. Maybe the wages are making it delayed. But I watched the friendly on Saturday and he was still busting around the pitch after 60, 70 minutes. So I couldn't see any reason why it would be fitness. He looked one of the fittest in our team by a long way. He was pressing high and he was getting up the pitch and look, no problem at all. So unless he's using that as a bit of a cover up for the money or the wages that they're discussing, that could be what it is.
We'll come back to players again in a moment, but Ben mentioned about obviously it could be to do with the embargoes still imposed on the club and the rules around who we can sign and to what contracts and stuff. What's the gut feel from you guys? Is this going to be resolved soon, or is it going to be more a case of maybe by January and that's when we'll start really seeing players coming through the door?
I think it's going to be soon because the trust communicated they want to lift it as soon as possible. I think I don't know why the process is taking longer than I imagined. But I think the club are quite keen to get it off quite soon.
It's only the loan. Is it? No, the loan's been paid, hasn't it? Has the loan been paid back? I don't know. We've had half the embargo lifted, so all the little bits and bobs like owing the council and the embargo through not paying the players, that's all done and lifted. It's literally the loan, but I don't know what stage it's at, whether they've had it back and it needs to go through a process with the EFL, or we're negotiating with paying bit part back and see if we can get it lifted. I don't know. I think it'd be looking at it from a business point of view as well, because if it is the EFL loan, that would be very low, if any, interest. And I guess if you put your business head on, if you're repaying loans, you're going to concentrate on the ones that are higher interest first. So if EFL is no interest, which I believe these rescue loans were no interest. Yeah. So yes, okay, it's a pain because we've got an embargo on, or part embargo on, but it probably does make business sense that we are paying that one back a bit slower than other debts, possibly.
Absolutely. Back to the subject of those that have come in. Kieran, I'll bring you in. That we've brought in the two loan players, the lad from Ipswich and the young defender from Villa, and their fans have sent them with quite almost rave reviews, saying that we've got a couple of decent players here. And from what you've read, I mean, it's mostly what you read on Twitter and stuff, but are they fairly exciting as loan signings go?
Yeah, I think the lad from Villa is quite an exciting one, because he was part of the one that played in the Liverpool game back end of last year, wasn't he? That although they did very well as a squad, did very well against Liverpool.
he did very well against Liverpool. I know he's been as their captain of the side for the FA Youth Cup, and I know it's not much to read into, but if you look at some of the players that have come through the FA Youth Cup as winners in previous years from United's and Liverpool's, granted, but it's not an easy competition to win. It's probably just as hard as the real FA Cup. So I think he's quite an exciting one, and Tyree Simpson, obviously he's a bit of an unknown quantity, obviously not got much experience. Same as lad from Villa, he's not got much sort of senior experience, which is obviously why they're coming to us. I'm always a bit apprehensive with young lone players, getting too excited about them until they've played. But I think it's it shows you what sort of way Ben Garner wants to play by having sort of these young players that can play football, even League Two. But I think we've also got the options where we'll be able to switch it up as well. If you look at like the likes of Gladwin and possibly Grant and stuff, where we can go direct, or we can play nice football where we need, when we're sort of already winning, hopefully.
No, absolutely, and obviously we're all hopeful of a few more announcements before the opening game. Where do you guys think is like the paramount position at this point that we need to get someone in? Midfield, is that the key area at this point?
Scoring goals, I think. I know that's where the money is, and that's probably why we've signed this Simpson, but it's whether you're going to get a goal scorer. But that's where the money comes into it, doesn't it? That's what you pay for the most, the goal scorer. Because that Simpson, from what I saw at the weekend, he looked raw. He looked, he looked like he'd put himself about. He's a big lad, a big unit. But whether he's going to score you 20 goals a season that you probably need if we're going to be in the right position in the table is questionable. But definitely we need someone at the top end of the pitch. I think after AK, I thought Gladwin looked really good. I don't know if many people were there Saturday, but Gladwin was very, very good, looked very sharp. He only played 45 minutes, but I don't know if that was with an eye on protecting him for this week. But Gladwin looked very sharp. And in this league, he could be, if we're going to play the right style of football to suit him, he could be very, very good.
Yeah, Gladwin would be pinnacle. I was there on Saturday. He was fantastic. There's no, I'd arguably say it was probably his best 45, if not best game he's played for us in 4 years.
In the last video, I said that I thought we were comparing Louis Thompson and Gladwin, and I said I'd take Louis Thompson. And after Saturday, I was just sat there thinking, oh my goodness, how wrong was I? Because he was on it for 45 minutes, and he was getting up the pitch, supporting the striker, and he was weaving in and out of players. So yeah, if we can keep him fit, he could be a massive asset for us this year.
I think we'd all be in agreement that if he's anything like he was when he left, he will be a very, very good player in League Two. Outstanding in League Two. I'm pleased. Let's move on then, and let's talk about the season then. We'll take a quick view on the opening game in a moment, but I'm pleased to say, as a bit of a treat for you guys, it's not a solely Swindon Town affair, because Sai is joining us. Sai is a Colchester fan who I've done various blogs and vlogs with in the past, and he's coming to help us preview the wider scope for League Two. How are you, Sai?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on again.
No problem at all, pal. Obviously, we're coming down after what was a difficult season. Colchester didn't have a great year last year, but tell us, League Two, we managed to get out of it last time we were in it, but how has it changed? What have we got to look forward to this year?
I think, to be fair, over the last few seasons, it's become a lot more competitive, with teams that you probably wouldn't actually think would be in the league have been spending longer in there, and teams struggling to get out. I think that's pretty much half of the course down for the National League. There's 5 or 6, 7 teams down there that should be league teams who aren't, and we had that knock-on effect, see, through League Two, then League One, like Sunderland, dare I say Ipswich, teams like that are almost too good for that league. So I think we're getting that stage almost in League Two, where Exeter obviously become so close so many times of getting thereabouts and have managed it. So I think it's going to be a competitive league or get yourselves back into. And I think it's one that's going to be for the better and for the fans.
Well, you've joined us at just the right time, because we were just moving on to previewing the season. We were talking off camera, and Ned, I think it was you that was saying that you think Colchester have arguably done one of, if not the best business of all the teams that you've seen in League Two. Si, what's your thoughts on your club going into the campaign?
So every year I'm confident, oh yeah, we'll go up this year. But a lot of that's more of a pipe dream and a wishful thinking. So this year, I think realistically, it's playoffs is our absolute minimum. We've almost become Ipswich's retirement home for some of the players who've got over the summer. But we look like Alan Judge, Luke Chambers, people like that we've actually managed to pick up who could still do a job in League One easily. And Alan Judge in pre-season has been unbelievable. Some of his set pieces, and we've actually been scoring from free kicks, corners, things like that. Something we've been struggling for goals from in the last probably 2-3 seasons. So we've managed to rebuild the squad from a lot of people leaving, brought a lot of experience and some youth players and some younger players coming up and take opportunities. So I'm quietly confident we've got a good balance this year. The caveat to that for me is the fitness. I think because obviously we have got a few players that are getting on a bit, should we say, is keeping them fit to the point where I hope we don't have any cut runs. I just want to league or bust kind of thing, just concentrate fully on that.
And I know you are very much like the rest of the guys in the chat here. You don't just focus on your team. You do like to know what's going on with the rest of the teams. As an outsider looking at what's happened with Swindon over what's your thoughts been watching us suffer and then the last 2 weeks of it all sort of turning around?
Well, the first thing, I'm just glad it has turned around, because for all the sort of rivalry and the banter you get, nobody wants to see any football club going out of business. Look what happened to Bury and people like that. Obviously, I had quite not a vested interest, but quite interested in it with regards to when he appointed John McGrill, and obviously our ex-manager, then Remy Gilmartin, who was a goalkeeping coach and a goalkeeper of us a few seasons back as well. And I was like really positive to them, thinking they're going to do well. They've got a good setup. John's very good at getting the fans on side. Obviously, sad to see that didn't happen. Then you had a player that was contracted, for like 10 days or something, was it, before his contract started, and he left. And that's a shambles. What I do like actually is your new owner's been very honest with that. We've just got to survive this season, by hook or by crook, survive, and then look at where we should be in the future. So yeah, like I say, it's all right for the banter and the coming togethers and things like that. But all in all, I think as a football fan, it's good to see that someone has stepped up, taken it on board, and is actually, just little things like going around protecting people's hands by season tickets and playing football with the fans on like a 5-a-side pitch. It's little things like that shows that hopefully it's going in the right direction.
I think Si raised an interesting point. So, guys, I'll ask you a one word, or not one word, but like one sentence answer first off for the preview. And we briefly touched on it last time. I'm not going to ask what success looks like, but give me a range between 1 and 24. Warren, I'll come to you first. Where are you expecting us, or where would you like us to finish? Obviously, we'd all say we'd love to finish top. But realistically, what are you looking at for Swindon this year?
I would take staying in the league, 100%.
Just
to stay in the league. But it's all about stability this season. Like Si alluded to, what Clem has said, it's all about building because there's going to be so many more hidden things that he's going to find under the Power era that he's going to have to deal with money-wise, and it's going to eat away at our playing budget and stuff like that. So for me this season, obviously we'd all love to dream, and I dream that we could be up there near the playoffs and stuff, which would be brilliant. But for me, as long as we stay in the league and stay in the Football League, that's massive for us this season.
Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to be similar to Warren, really, just staying up. But of course, with all the signings and everything that we've made recently, it's looking promising. I'm getting my hopes up again, and being a Swindon fan, it's a dangerous thing when you do that. Probably the same for Si with Colchester, but
yeah.
But yeah, and especially if we sign Grant, as we touched on earlier. But I'd say based on the signings we've made with Gladwin and people like that, I think sort of mid-table, so maybe around about 14th. If we got there, I would be happy. But like Warren was saying, as long as we stay in the league, because remember, we are a few weeks behind everyone else. We haven't got enough. We haven't had enough friendlies in either, so it's going to be questionable for the first few games of the season how much of our squad are going to be match fit. And obviously they're gelling together. There's been a high turnover of players, so it will take time. But yeah, if we came 14th around there, I think that's a realistic sort of aim. But I'd be delighted with that.
Yeah,
obviously I'll be delighted if we get out the bloody league, but you know, that'll probably be taking it too far.
Ben?
Echo Craig, really. As a Swindon fan, I'll always have aspirations for promotion. Always deep down. I'll always be looking at the top of the league.
Is it one of them things like Si was saying that in each football league at the minute you're looking and there's certain teams you think are too big? Are you kind of thinking, although we struggled, Swindon aren't a League Two team, we should at least be in League One kind of thing?
That sort of inner ego psyche inside that probably thinks that a little bit. I think we'll flatter to deceive a little bit this season. I think we'll be all right. I think with players like Jack Payne, who's probably one of the better, most skillful players in the league, Ben Gladwin, that kiddie we signed from Villa, they rave about, looks like it's going to be half decent, and Aiken. I think we've got good players who probably could perform at the top of the league quite comfortably, but I don't think we've got much meat to the bone. And I think all season we'll flatter to deceive a little bit. I think we might kill ourselves with playoff dreams and not in March if we're about 13th, but I think they'll die off like they did, like Richie Welling's first season. I think we'll die off, but I think we'll finish mid-table, and I think we'll have foundation to push on the following season. But I think we'll be all right. I think we'll score goals, but I think we'll also shoot ourselves in the foot more than one occasion, more than enough times to not actually do anything this year.
Well, let's be fair, Ben. Even when we're flying high at the top of the league, there's always one game where we shoot ourselves in the foot completely for no obvious reason.
But you've got your Colchester man on there. They smashed every single time we played them. I mean, what was that? Like 3-1 the League Cup, 3-0 and 3-0, wasn't it? 3-1 again, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah,
we have absolutely awful games, and we get bogey teams as well.
You really don't have to remind him, because when we did the EFL record, he would mention it every single time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can mention that's positive. That's why. That's the only thing I could cling to.
Adam, what's your expectations and aspirations?
I'm actually quite surprised because I'm probably the most optimistic one on here. If I was a betting man and we had to bet for place in the league, I genuinely think we are going to be ninth this season. And that has all changed kind of in the last maybe week or so. A week ago, I probably would have said, yeah, I'm comfortable for us just to survive the season, as the other guys have said. But I think we're probably going to be surprised. The deceiving idea is probably the right thing as well. But you'll be surprised at how things like this can really invigorate and really power up a team. You know, you look at Bolton when they started with their under 18s playing the majority of their games, and things like that. And I just think it feels like with our recruitment is already better than it was last year, even though we haven't recruited a whole squad yet. You know, it's So, and looking at Saturday, there's questions about who we were playing, whether we were playing Peterborough B, C, or whatever. That was a relatively decent Peterborough side. There's no denying that. Also, I believe Angus said on the supporters club podcast thing yesterday, or panel thing yesterday, I think he said we've actually got a competitive playing budget. So I don't want to quote him on that, but because I was driving at the time, so I was only half listening. But I'm pretty sure he said we have quite a competitive playing budget. It's the other things we're trying to shake off, like not being able to pay a transfer fee and all this kind of stuff. So I'm relatively confident, because Ben Chorley, I think, is also really underrated in his roles. He was a very good scout for us when he was scouting for us, and he has brought in some good players, and I think he will. And the fact that we've managed to get a player like Gladwin to drop down he's got injury issues, but to drop down a division He could, you know, as Warren said, he was brilliant on Saturday. I think he could comfortably still play League One and be a good player in League One. And just the way we played on Saturday, you can see that we are approaching it with a slightly attacking enthusiasm. So if we get that goal scorer, you know, whether it be a young goal scorer or an older goal scorer, I think we'll surprise teams. Well, actually, I say we surprise teams. It seems to be really only Swindon fans that are saying we're going to be mid-table to bottom half. If you speak to a lot, I don't know, obviously Si will have an opinion as well, but when I've spoken to friends who support other teams, they're still expecting us to finish top half of the table, because as arrogant as it will sound, Swindon is a big club in this league. And if we get all of this sorted, we could turn it, even if we're in the bottom half of the table, we could turn it all around in January if the embargo's lifted. So I'm gonna write it down, and we'll see where we are at the end of the season. But I genuinely believe we are just going to miss out in the playoffs, and we're going to be ninth. We won't just miss out in terms of 1 or 2 points. I think the top 7 teams will probably run away. There's a good firm 7 teams, Colchester included, you know, that probably will top this division. But yeah, I'm quite comfortable with a top 10 finish.
As John McGill said, it's Swindon Town.
It's certainly an interesting point you make, because while I was listening to the others, I was sat here considering what my position on it was, and I'm a big believer in momentum and gathering momentum and these things clicking. And yes, we've had an atrocious build up to this campaign, but I think the feel good factor is definitely there at the moment, and you can feel like an attitude shift, a momentum shift, and it might be a difficult start to the season, but I'm fairly confident that we will at worst be a top half team. And you were mentioning, Adam, about how other people look at it. I think the coupon I picked up for all the league outrights, I don't have it with me, but I think even then Swindon were 8th or 9th in that as well. Just, you know, they're not that far off in terms of the betting for outright winners of the league. So there's definitely
some of the betting stations are really weird at the moment, because there was one, I can't remember which one it was, Rich mentioned it, I can't remember if it was in this chat or not, but we had the same odds. It was almost the same odds to win the league as it was to get relegated. It was the betting firms just don't know. They don't know, because anything could happen this week. We haven't signed any of the trialists yet. You know, in terms of the players we've signed haven't actually played for us in the friendlies, I don't think. So who knows? I think a lot lays on this week.
Definitely. Kieran, let's bring you in. Where are you thinking we're going to be positioned in 8-9 months time, whatever it is?
22nd on goal difference, but I take it. Like my aspirations for this season are low, because I think you can't underestimate not having a pre-season, having a squad that probably largely when we played much with each other by the end of October, because I still think we'll be signing players, free agents in sort of September. But I think this year, if we just go with low expectations, anything can happen. I think our aim needs to be sort of a 2-year aim. It needs to be sort of this year, consolidate and stay in the league at the very least. Maybe if you're in January pushing playoffs, then we do what we did in League 2 last time, and maybe have to spend a bit just to get out of it if things are looking good in the off chance. But I think we need to be out of League 2 in the next 2 years. This year, just focus on basics. Let's just try and stay in the league, because I think it's going to be tough, because I think we're going to struggle. I think we'll get points in August, but it's going to be 1 or 2. It's going to be sort of 1 to 4 points through the whole month, and I think we'll struggle again sort of in September. And I think it's going to be a very starty season with us. And if we get 1 or 2 injuries in the first game or first month, we're fucked. We've had it. Even with 3 or 4 signings, we need probably about 2 in every position bar goalkeepers at the minute. And I'm not knocking if they're getting the players in, and it is, but I think it's a long way to be behind by this point. We could have done, Clem could have hoped if he'd taken over, if Power had transferred those shares when he first got told to a week or 2 before, I think we'd be in a lot better position and have had at least 1 or 2 friendlies with a majority of the squad. But I think the first few games are going to feel like friendlies the way we're playing, because we're going to be finding up. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be pretty this year, I don't think. But I think as long as we stay up, I don't think anyone's going to moan about it.
No, absolutely. And last but certainly by no means least, Ned, where are you thinking? Are you just to avoid relegation, or are you a bit more like me and Adam and a bit more positive?
Well, I am going to echo what you and Adam said. I mean, I'm going to be pretty specific as well. I think to start off with, I think we're going to be pretty bad away from home. I think we're going to get absolutely walked over away from home to start off with.
Don't say that. I'm going on Saturday.
sorry. Maybe a draw. I think we're going to be moderate at home. I think by sort of November, December time, I think we'll be 16th, 17th in the league, around about that sort of position. I don't think it's a case of that we're going to get loads of players in January, but I just think the more time we have training, the micromanagement, the understanding of the tactics and the way that we want to play, it's all in, starts to come in. We start to get more confidence. I mean, I honestly think we'll turn it on for the second half of the season, and somewhere between 8th and 10th. I think Woody's prediction of 9th is bang on. My only concern is where the goals are going to come from. I mean, I'd love it to be Harry Parsons rocks up with 25 goals this year, but I can't see it happening, unfortunately. Tyree Simpson, I haven't seen him play. I can't really comment, but we're so desperate to get some players in. It's very thin on the ground, isn't it? And also, that prediction is based upon us not having some huge injury problems. But this year, this is the first year we've had proper coaches. The old sports scientists or whatever, the hygiene, not hygiene. What they eat and all that sort of stuff. I just think the further we get on in the season, the more that all the players will adapt to the two Ben's way of ethos and tactics, and I think we're gonna turn it on for the second half. I really do believe that. And by the way, Colchester, mwah, I love the transfer business. I love it. Freddie Sears in League Two, absolutely cracking signing, can I just say?
Echo that. Good signing.
To be fair, of all the signings we've had this summer, he's one of the ones the fans are a bit divided over. In a weird way, Sears. Purely because obviously when he left us, it was his pace and his instinct in front of goal that was really a selling point for Ipswich. So he's gone there, had his big injury issues. He's come back. He's not quite as fast as he was. So kind of his big bit for his game, if you like, has been taken away from him. So I think he's got to reinvent himself a bit. Yeah, I'm more than happy to prove wrong, but I'm a bit dubious about if he's going to fit in with the rest of the sort of younger, fast, flowing, attacking football we're trying to play. More than happy to prove wrong, let him bang in sort of 30 goals. I'll quite beat my hat on that one. I've got a horrible feeling that it's not going to be quite as goal happy as some people are thinking he might be.
It's just, he's the type of player with, as you say, with those instincts, he scores no matter where he goes. I've got every confidence that he's going to bang in at least 20 this season. Every confidence.
I'm more than happy if he does. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna sit and lose sleep over the fact if he's banging 30 odd goals, then I'll be more than happy to be right on his back, supporting him, sort of thing. But yeah, I'll say it's been interesting to see what he does, how he does adapt to the league, and the physicality of it as well.
Yeah, because the physicality in League Two has always been one of the big factors for whether teams can adapt or not. So let's look at the rival teams then, and who we think are going to adapt best to it. Obviously, we're sat here thinking Swindon first, Colchester second by the end of the season. But if it's not that, who are we expecting to do well? And if it is going to prove to be a difficult season for Swindon, who are the rivals going to be down there? Si, I'll ask you first. Who are you tipping for promotion and relegation, please?
So just sort of paraphrase some of the things you guys are saying about Swindon's season. I think you will have to be very mid-table, and in a way, I think that would be the best thing that could happen to you, purely just to give you that stabilisation season, to bed new players in, get your sort of ethos and your philosophy back, to then push next season. So if you know, fair play, if you have a good season, do promote. Will it be double-edged where you're then going to be up against it in League One again, then have to sort of start yo-yoing a little bit, whereas another year in League Two could do you good? But yeah, I don't think you'll do as badly as you all seem to think you will, because it is true. A lot of clubs do see it as it's Swindon. You know, you remember them playing up top divisions in where they were before. People just still look at that. So it'd be interesting, but I would be one that don't be victims of your own success too soon. But league-wise, I think it will be Sutton and Barrow that drop, purely because I don't think Sutton are going to be able to adapt to the league very well. And Barrow last year, I think with COVID, not having fans in and things like that, did help them a little bit on their travels. For the league, I think it's a toss-up between Salford and Bristol Rovers, personally. They're both big clubs. Well, Bristol Rovers is a fairly big club, whereas Salford obviously buying their way to power and what they've been able to put into it. So I think they're going to be the ones to watch.
Oh dear! Do you know what? I've been watching the guys' faces here, and whenever we brought you in, they've been genuinely quite accepting and nodding along, etc. But you've just come on a Swindon Town podcast and said that Bristol Rovers are a big club.
You asked. I think at least, you know, it's either that or mention the 3-0, 3-1 scorelines. Just try different tack tonight. That was so.
Let's go in reverse order this time. Ned, who are you thinking are going to be at the top and down the bottom?
Wow. Well, I honestly believe Colchester's going to be right up there. I think Newport's going to be up there, and possibly I'm looking down here because this is I've got the thing in front of me. I don't know. Bradford got to come good at some point, haven't they?
At some point, you've got to be good.
At some point. Going down, I just echo what also what he said. Sorry, I didn't see what it is. Sorry, there we go. It's the name of brother. I shouldn't be able to forget that, should I? Yeah, I echo what you say because I think that's a hugely valid point. And I don't really care about anyone else apart from Swindon.
Absolutely fair and valid. Kieran, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Rovers are going to be at top end of the table because they always are. They do good business. They've got a hell of a striker as well. Their striker's going to score them a goal. I think Tranmere are going to be up there as well. And I think it's sort of a Salford or someone are going to be in the mix, and Newport and your Newports and Exeters and Colchester's. Down the bottom, I would love Forest Green to be battling it out with us. Love them to go down because they shouldn't be in the league. Another one that's buying their way to power. But I think it's going to be a sort of Sutton United, Barrow, us, and a Stevenage sort of down there. If they're the sort of ones, I think Stevenage, they've been lucky not to drop out in the last few years, and I think there may be one other surprise team that drops down into sort of that fold, maybe like a Scunthorpe or someone. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting year.
I'll be honest, I'm surprised by the first three. Well, maybe not surprised, but I might be slightly biased because I know people who are fans and stuff. I don't think Sutton are going to struggle as much as seemed to be suggested. You know, generally when teams come up from any division, normally they have at least one season of good performances. So I think they'll be okay, personally. Adam, who are you thinking for top and bottom?
I'd like to think that Sutton won't go down, but I do think they'll get dragged in down there. And the only reason, again, I'm using my commercial mind here, where they've had to tear up their pitch to come up to us, come up to League Two.
Come up to us.
Tear up their pitch to play the likes of Swindon Town. But I imagine that they probably had a lot of income coming off that pitch. So I do wonder whether that's going to have quite a dramatic effect. I think Scunthorpe will be down there again. I wouldn't be surprised. I think Harrogate have had their fairy tale now as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go down that way. In terms of the other end of the table, I did a little thing with my son the other day in terms of randomly predicting the not so obvious. I think Salford, this is their year to get out of this division. And I think the thing is with League Two, because it's 3 automatic promotion places, it almost feels like winning League Two is not such a big deal, if you know what I mean, even though we won it a couple of years ago. But it feels like it's not the end of the world if you lose a game, because you could still finish in the top 3. Do you know what I mean? And it's we weren't even top when we won League Two. So it was but it's Bradford again, a club that are probably too big to be hanging around down here. So I'd probably say my top 3 will be Salford, Bradford, and then I'm going to chuck a ball, like a little random curveball. I think Mansfield are going to do some stuff this year. I think I as much as it pains me to say, I can't bring myself to accept that Bristol Rovers will go back up again, because they were diabolical last year. They lost twice to us, for crying out loud. They do have, but Mansfield just always have that little bit of spending power, and they're another team that have kind of lingered in League Two for a while now. So I think they'll make their way up. But I think Sai got it spot on earlier. This is a really interesting league this year. It's a lot, like I say, not necessarily stronger, but the teams seem to be less predictable. Like I say, Harrogate had their fairy tale last year, Sutton coming up, Barrow even to a certain extent, teams that we haven't seen in the league for such a long time. But now you look at Tranmere's, Forest Green's, Bristol Rovers, Mansfield's, Northampton, Newport had a great year last year. I think it's going to be very, very close. Nobody's going to run away with it, apart from maybe a top 7 would be quite distant. But I think it'll be Salford, Bradford and Mansfield to go up.
It's certainly an interesting point you make about the competitiveness of it all. I mean, I was sort of reading a conversation by people far more knowledgeable about all the other sides in League Two than me. And a lot of them were saying, like, don't rule out like Port Vale, who can surprise. And no one's really talking about them, but, they're clearly a team that those in the know, so to speak, are certainly saying, don't forget about them. They could certainly do something. Ben, it's your turn. What are you thinking predictions-wise? Who's going to be up there? Who's going to be struggling?
Well, yeah, I sort of echo the thing about Port Vale, because they're another very well-run club, run by people who are all for the fans, and I think they've slowly improved and impressed. So, yeah, I think Vale could be up there. But I think there's any 3 from 10 can really argue the state of going up automatically. I think it's almost impossible to call for the top 3, whether it be Newport, Bradford, Salford, Bristol Rovers, so many teams. Colchester, another one that could be up there. I think the teams at the bottom are a little bit more clearer. I think I've got a feeling either Scunthorpe, who were awful last season and lucky not to get relegated, haven't improved at all this summer, and financially struggling as well. They could have an absolute shed collapse. I think there's going to be one of the teams are going to be in real financial mess. I think Oldham, another one who seem to walk the tightrope as well between self-destruction and just carrying on. And I think sooner or later they might go. So I think one of those 2 teams will go down in a blaze of glory. And then it's one of the others as well, whether Sutton do. I think Sutton might, as you say, take momentum on from last season, just carry on a bit like Harrogate did. Harrogate could suffer from second season syndrome, which could happen. So I think they might down a little bit as well. I think Barrow will stay up because I think Mark Cooper's savvy and knows the division. And I think he will keep them up. They'll struggle, but I think he's good enough to do that. So I think towards the bottom half is a little bit more clear than the top. But the top, any 3 of 10 will go up, and the rest will fight out for the playoffs. And I don't see Swindon either being one of those 10, nor one of the 4 or 5 that will struggle as well. I think will be in that middle pack doing nothing, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Craig, is it as difficult for you when you're looking at the teams at the top?
Yeah, pretty much what Ben was saying there. It's difficult, isn't it? It could be one of any of those 10. I think Salford, like Adam was saying, I think this is going to be their season. They'll with the money behind them, that they'll do it. I think I'd like to see Newport. I think they got a good chance up there as well, and either like Forest Green or Bradford for the third spot. I think Colchester will be up there in the playoffs, like we was alluding to earlier. They've recruited very well. I like Alan Judge. I do. I always think he was someone that I wanted us to sign over the years, So yeah, but at the bottom, I think Barrow will go down. You look at when they won the National League, they had one of the lowest wage budgets in that league, and that's in the National League. So they must obviously have one of the lowest ones in League Two now, and they haven't got a big fan base. So I think financially it's going to be difficult for them to recruit the players that are good enough for them to stay in the league. Again, like Ben was saying, Scunthorpe or Oldham, maybe even Sutton, because as Adam was saying, you go from getting revenue from your ground 365 days of the year to just 23 days of the year, essentially, and that's a big drop for them, and also the expense, like Adam said, of them replacing their pitch. So I think I would say, the bounce effect from promotion would keep them up, but Sutton's is a bit different. And just to finish, I'm going to throw one from outside the box that might be down there, and this isn't judged on anything on how they've recruited or anything, but I have a feeling that Exeter might be down there, because I'm pretty sure, I mean, I might be totally talking bollocks on this, but they've had seasons historically where they're up there, then the following season they're right down at the bottom, struggling. So I mean, I might be wrong, but I have just based on that, I think they might be down the bottom, but yeah, it's difficult to say for sure, especially at the top there.
Well, as Adam suggested, we'll make a note of that and come back to you in 46 games time, and when Exeter are fifth, we'll say, well, that was a good prediction, wasn't it, Craig?
or if they've won it, yeah.
Warren,
write these teams down, actually.
Sorry, mate?
Should get all these predictions written down where we think we're going to fit.
They'll be written down, don't you worry.
And they'll be thrown back at us around May.
Warren, finally you, sir. Your predictions for the league?
Top end, I think I agree with Adam. I think Mansfield, I think Nigel Clough's had a couple of seasons now with Mansfield, and I think they'll be right up there. I think he's probably got his print on it now, and they'll play the right style of football that he wants to play, and they'll be very, very tough to beat at the top end of the league. I think Bradford as well. I think getting Derek Adams, who's got promoted with Morecambe last season, very good job getting Morecambe out of League Two on I'd imagine, a very low budget. They've obviously looked at that and got him in, and obviously are going to give him some money and see what he can do with that. I think an interesting one, all saying outside the box, I'm really interested to see how Matty Taylor does for his first season with Walsall. I think if everything they say about a great coach that he is, or with the youngsters with Spurs and where he was, if he gets off on the right foot, he could be towards the top end. But like Ben said, it could be a list of 10 teams. We could be reeling teams off all day for promotion. Near the bottom, really agree with what everyone said, really. I think Sutton could get the bounce from coming up from the National League, and I think there's teams around them that they'll be clawing back in. I think there's teams that have sat in this league for a long period of time that after, with everything with COVID, with all the money situation like we've all alluded to, there's teams in there, the likes of your Oldhams, your Scunthorpes and stuff like that, that could all be properly down there, and it might be their turn this year to go down. But it is a very open league, and we could be all sat here with egg on our face at the end of the season, because it could go completely the other way than what we predicted. So you never know, but they would be sort of a semi-fancy.
Well, no, it's true, and not to bring up bad memories, but I'm one who traditionally always thinks Colchester are a team that's going to do well, and needless to say, there must have been times last season you were a bit nervous, Si.
It was, to be fair, we had a really positive start to the season. You know, we were in the playoffs, we were out as far as top 3, and then we seemed to nosedive. And I think about 4 or 5 games into the season, it was really, really touch and go. For a couple of times, a few of us were on a WhatsApp group, we got rats like that. We're down, almost sort of resigned to our fate a bit too soon. But they pulled it out of the bag to survive. My take on it is because of COVID and the fans couldn't go, if you weren't there to see it, never happened. So last season wasn't really, it was more just a season of friendlies. No one, it doesn't really count for anything.
Yeah, we'll go on that as well last year.
Yeah, I wish we could take that.
Last year. We'll replay League One next year.
As it is a preview show, it would be amiss of me not to go back and do as we did last season when we recorded and ask you for your match predictions. Just so you know, Si, I think between us, we must have had about, I don't know, 50 predictions over the course of about, I don't know, 9 or 10 games. Ben, were you about the only one that ever got one right, possibly?
Might have been, I can't remember. I predicted us to lose most weeks, so probably right.
That's why you've done well.
Yeah.
Quick fire answer then. In the order that you appear on the screen, what will be the score on Saturday, Warren?
1-1.
Craig?
I think we'll lose 1-0.
Ben?
Scunthorpe 1, Swindon Town 3.
Yeah. Adam?
Stick my neck out.
Scunthorpe 0, Swindon Town 2.
Ooh.
Just because I'm going. And if they don't do that, then Rich can walk home.
Kieran?
6-0 Scunthorpe.
Excellent. Ned?
1-1.
And you don't have to predict our game. You can tell us what you think will happen in yours if you like, Si.
So I reckon you guys will win 2-1. I just got a feeling you'll sneak it with how Scunthorpe ended and how they're going to begin. And I think we're going to beat Carlisle 1-0.
And I will go for a 2-0 Swindon win as well. Jen, thank you very much for joining me this evening. We are actually recording on EFL launch day, whatever that means to anyone that's not Sky Sports News and Talk Sport. Si, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate your time. And thanks for giving us a wider view than just our red tinted glasses. Appreciate that.
No dramas. If you have me back when we play you guys home and away, I'll have to get the game back together and we'll have a chat about that.
No, we'll make sure we're not doing a pod that week.
Carly's done 3-0.
But if you win, there'll definitely be 2 the week after.
So I sat there going, well, I know we're going to get at least 6 points this season.
It's one of those things, though, eventually it's got to come to an end, isn't it? And I've got a feeling in true culture style, when it does come to an end, it'll be like a 5-0 defeat or something. So I'm not going to say too much till it's done.
Only Swindon break records, mate. a team might not have beaten us might not have won a game for 50 years and they'll beat us.
But no, obviously, with the exception of when you play us, good luck this season, Si. And lads, this is essentially the first pod stroke vlog stroke any other word for it of the new season. Thank you as always for joining me, and hopefully in our weekly or fortnightly or however regularly we do these in the new season, it will certainly be a lot happier than last season's were. But until next time, thank you for watching, listening, and thank you again for your time.
Cheers.